So Kylie joins me now for a review of those stories. Hello again, Kylie.
We're starting off with the building collapse in the Orile Iganmu area of Lagos State. Yesterday was quite shocking, particularly because the moment the building collapsed was caught on camera. So I'd like you to take a view and a listen to that moment, and we'll show you what Nigerians and the authorities have been saying. So this happened yesterday, right here in Lagos. All right, so we'll get to show you that, but I think it's important to first get what Nigerians are saying about
and you know,
that
I saw that video yesterday, and it was quite surreal. You know, the fact that somebody was even able to catch it on camera, you know, says quite a lot. Maybe they had seen signs or something that it was, you know, about to fall apart from afar, and you know, they quickly put up their camera. But it was a very profound moment, and you could see, you know, people trying to run away from that area. But we should get reports about whether there were any casualties, because you could see people. Yeah, that's the video there.
You know, you can just keep that video on loop and just imagine the thoughts going through the minds of people around. But I know the obvious questions for a lot of people is, one, were there people in that building when it collapsed? And by extension, any casualty recorded? Well, Lasema says that there was no casualty whatsoever as a result of this.
Were there any people just around the building, the surrounding area of the building? You know, that vehicle seems to remain intact even after the collapse, but was there any other, you know, any other structure or you know, vehicle closer to the area of the building just before it collapsed?
Very important questions, and it's important to also do all these checks and ensure that we have all these areas covered. Lasema, as I said, said there was no casualty whatsoever. I even went as far as saying that it got information from LASCA. That's the agency that is in charge of building control. LASCA is the Lagos State Building Control Agency. So Lasema said that LASCA had said they gave, well, the occupants of the building, they had notified them rather that this is a distressed building. But you wonder what was then done. Did you cordon off the area? Did you anticipate that was going to happen?
Was the building sealed?
Exactly, because people were moving past. I imagine maybe people were even inside of it, and when it showed signs of distress, they moved out. But it's cheery to hear there were no casualties. But what are you saying?
But this is one too many. And how many other buildings in Lagos are distressed like this, or in any other part of the country? Because we really do not want to have to review such stories again.
Absolutely.
Even if there will be no casualty.
Indeed. Michael Jasford is the first user who says, oh my goodness. And, you know, same question a lot of Nigerians have asked. I just hope there's no single life in that building at the very time of this incident. Well, as I said earlier on, Lasema said that there was no casualty in that one. Now, you see, this user talks about the high cost of rent, or at least why people end up in these buildings because of rent, and is asking that, please, if you can't see a cheaper story building, never desperately go for these kinds of buildings. I believe there are other buildings like bungalows that are even more safer than this degrading story buildings. And you find quite a number of them, and it's been said time and again that action needs to be taken to ensure we don't have bigger disasters on our hands.
And Don is the next writer this morning, and he says, or they say, total disaster. It's really an old building, evidently, you know, from the whitewashed color of the paint of the building. And he continues by saying, government should start doing something about buildings like this. There are many of them like this in Enugu State. So is there you know, an appropriate agency like the LASCA in Enugu State? Please go after such buildings, if indeed there are. Maybe you should start your investigation now, such that those buildings can be sealed. This is a feedback from one of our users. So Enugu State government, please take note.
Thank you very much. So if you're in any other part of the country and you see these buildings, if you see something, say something. It's not just for crime, right? It's also for infrastructure. So reach out. If you're in that building or you know a building like that, reach out to the authorities and alert them. Edgy Dot also re-echoes that concern about whether or not people were affected. Again, Masema says there were no casualties. But let's talk about power now, Bukola.
Yes, so Nigerians are talking about the most recent blackout. Will this be the last, Kadi? It's October 2024, and Nigerians have witnessed the sixth blackout this year already, the sixth. And so what are you saying about this? In Nigeria, everything is on the rise except the national grid, which is always collapsing. We wish the price of petrol will collapse like the grid collapses. Well, that would be more pleasant.
Really pleasant.
No, collapsing
actually.
6 times. Price of petrol, that would be monumental, right?
No, that'll be back to what it was before subsidy removal.
Right.
Mr. Foshere is next, saying, do you want to know the funniest part? Only about 13% of Nigerian population is connected to the national grid. Well, I'm not sure where you got that from, because as at 2020, it was even more than 50%, right? So even of late, you see some figures quoting 75% of people stay in households that are connected to the national grid. So 13%, hey, you need to check your facts right.
Please check and check again.
Goes on to say we can't even provide stable electricity for Nigerians. Imagine how long we have to go to provide electricity for just half of the population. As I said earlier on, even data from 2020 shows more than 50%, and some say as much as 75. Other data will even tell you 80 plus. So 13%, and I think you can't even tell, really. So maybe you need to check that again.
All right.
Share that is.
So Fesso Oyebade is the next user, and they say no wonder there has been a power outage in our glorified Band A neighborhood. Of course, you can add one or two things together to explain away the reason for the low supply of power.
This user, Aim Courage, well, I don't know if it's sarcasm, says, so you mean I should go and fuel my generator? Is the grid that fragile? Why doesn't it affect neighboring countries that you supply light? Well, I don't know if you've asked someone in the neighboring country. That's from Aim Courage, by the way. I don't know if you've asked and they've told you, but I know that a lot of them are owing, right? And recently the authority had to come out with a bill.
For even Benin Republic recently,
yeah, they're owing.
That they haven't paid, and it's derailing our own economy in some sort because of the huge bill.
So there you go. We'll keep your comments coming in. Hashtag CTV Morning Brief about any of these issues. But there's one more talking point, Bukola.
And, that affects moms. Like
Just
me.
moms? It affects everybody, Bukola.
Okay, dads too. I got you there.
It affects all of us. Moms, dads, children. Non-moms, non-dads, non-children.
Because dads sometimes pay the bill for the gas. So what are you saying about this? Well, what are you saying about this? Mr. Bator says, my grandparents used firewood and they lived long. So what am I waiting for?
So a little
that also
backstory.
has an impact on your environment. So don't be in a hurry to jump on the bandwagon. Well, of very few people using firewood right now, because that has an impact on the environment. It's not good for respiratory health. It's not good for public health. So, but what are the alternatives? That's the question.
Fantastic question. So the backstory is the price of gas, cooking gas, has jumped to 1,500 naira per kg. So that's a lot. If you do the math, if you want to fill a 13 kg cooking gas, you do 13 plus 6.5, that's almost 20,000 naira, right? When people used to pay about...
I recall buying, gas, the 12.5 kg for 5,000 naira.
For 5,000 naira, right?
A couple of years down the line.
Just think about it. Even of late, people were buying it for just over 10,000 naira or so. So just do the math. So that's why a lot of people are saying, well, we need to find alternatives. And I saw a very interesting tweet yesterday, Bukola. So he says when... and you actually read it out to me that when the price of tomatoes went up, people moved to carrots and cucumber. When the price of petrol went up, people moved to CNG. So the person asked, now that the price of egg is going up, what do people move to? And I saw someone put up a picture of noodles with garden egg on top of it. That cracked me up on the one hand, but it just showed the reality of the situation. It is not funny for a lot of people right now. So with the price of gas going up, naturally people will move to charcoal, firewood. They don't want to hear anything environment. What is most important for them is survival. And they'll tell you that, hey, the bigger economies are the ones responsible for global warming. The pollution they churn out is that times 1 million, just a little firewood, or even what Nigeria is responsible for. So for now, these people just want to survive. And if it is firewood, all well and good for them, except the people who are complaining have an alternative for them.
And speaking of alternatives, Nigerians are also resorting to what they call, the Legady's Benz now, because many people cannot afford petrol anymore, and they're parking their vehicles and walking. But how much distance can we all walk?
Absolutely.
Currently?
So it's curious then for them here in the World Bank saying we have to stay the course for 10, 15 years. And you're thinking, do you mean the same course that we're on? Does it even get better at any time soon? Well, Annie is next, saying we always knew that this one would rise. That's the price of gas. The last price was 1,350. Gas one day compete with fuel. I know it's small race to 2K. Well, there's the dollar to naira as well, which is also on race into
1,600 naira. Well, Annie is the next writer, and Annie says, Lamau, we always knew that...
Oh, I took that one already, okay, so you're going to help.
So Health Prefect is the next user who says, I guess it's time we revert to firewood. After all, food that they cook with firewood is sweeter than the one they cook with gas. So can you blame anyone for whatever choice that they resort to this morning?
Absolutely not.
Okay, so we'll take a break now. When we return, we'll begin our first conversation, which is on the constant grid collapses. What are the reasons and what's the way out? Important questions to ask, and we'll be right back. Stay with us.